Hello, everyone. This is the MSPoweruser Podcast. This is the podcast for the Microsoft enthusiast and power user. We discuss the latest news from MSPoweruser.com and other great sources of Microsoft news around the world. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith, and as usual, I'm joined by Andy Bennett. Andy, good evening, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. It's not been a bad week. Rather busy, a little bit stressful, a little bit warm, plenty of sweat and AC, power consumption. But
same here. High power consumption in multiple ways.
Yeah. What's anything new for you, or just the heat?
Yeah, mostly the heat. I've been productive lately, but that's all stuff to talk about later on.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, so I think might as well get on towards the first topic of the night, day, or whenever someone's listening
kick it off.
to this.
Everybody
the Windows 10 anniversary update. Wait for it. RTM. I mean W. Yeah. Either way, regardless of what you want to call it, the very final version, or rather, final build for the anniversary update is here, and it's build 14393. And it's released to the fast ring, but it also has hit the slow ring. It's completely stable, as stable as it's going to get, really. There was the known issues list for PC when it released on fast ring was just one issue, and that was a driver issue that was specific to the Surface Pro 3 and 4. Maybe the book too, but they released a brand new driver for it within a day, and that fixed it completely. And really, the improvements and fixes for PC on it are very little. They improved the reliability of Start, Cortana, and Action Center, and you should now be able to mount iPods as USB mass storage devices. That's it.
That's what we were expecting.
It's not exactly a climatic send-off, but you don't really want that with these types of things, because that means you have a gigantic pile of issues you just had to fix within a matter of days. Mobile's a bit more than that, because fixed an issue that resulted in rapid battery drain when visual voicemail syncs voicemail messages on dual SIM devices like the Lumia 950 XL. Fixed an issue causing battery drain on older devices like the 535, 640, 735, 830, 930, and Icon. Fixed an issue causing voice recorder to not show up consistently as an option in call recording. Fixed several issues impacting dual SIM capabilities. Using a device with two SIMs should work as it should. So yeah, not too bad, really. We're at the final stretch, and it's less than 2 weeks until the anniversary update releases, and just a week and a day until the free upgrade offer for Windows 10 ends. So this is the last minute, If you have an old PC you want to get on 10, now is the time, and just prepare for a couple more changes in the coming week.
Yeah, that countdown clock is ticking. I mean, people, if you have not upgraded to Windows 10, gotten all your Windows 10 PCs upgraded, please do so. Don't be part of that group that's going to be complaining about it. Don't be complaining to us, oh, I didn't know it was happening. We're telling you, Microsoft is telling you, upgrade your devices. That being said, most of the people listening to this podcast probably have already upgraded several times, probably rolled back, tried Insider, back to general release, and on and on.
If anything, I'd say the majority of our audience is the fast ring users.
I would think so. And I guess one more opportunity to point out that Microsoft offers this fast ring, this Insider program, which is so cool. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I think just in general that they're offering this opportunity, this capability for people to try things out and contribute to it, help in the troubleshooting and the beta testing. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, the last time they did anything like this was, not counting the original release of 10, the last thing, anything like that was Windows Vista, if I recall, but that was shipped out on CDs, since it was 2005, 2006.
I'm trying to think. I was thinking Windows 7 was even in that era I guess
I didn't really pay too much attention to 7s, I guess, but I do know that Vista had quite a bit of testing going on.
Maybe Windows 7 was in 2007. Maybe that was
Well, 7, was 2009 release. Vista was 2006 release. So, yeah.
I'm not the best one to comment on this apparently because I don't really care.
Well, I think you are the best one to comment on the next thing up on the lineup, which is Skype.
Yeah. So Skype in a couple of different ways. We're gonna hit the happy one first. Okay. The Skype Universal Windows Platform app is now on mobile, and it's basically, it's not technically messaging everywhere. That is not the same as, this new Skype app is not the same as what we had before. Before we had several different Skype apps split up into Skype Video, Skype Messaging, then there's the regular blue and white Skype app, and then you had Skype that was tied right into the dialer, the phone dialer, and things like that. It was split up all over the place, especially on mobile. And on the desktop, the same thing. They had messaging and video. It was two different things. And I could kind of see how people could handle that. They could understand that on the desktop. But when it comes to the phone, I think people really wanted a dedicated app. Or at least that's what Microsoft, that's the story they're going with. Obviously, there's been a huge backlash a few weeks ago when they announced the end of messaging everywhere. But recently, they did push out this Universal Windows app for Skype. I got to tell you, Andy, this is pretty good. I like it. I really, really do like it. There's a lot of good features in it. It looks like a Windows mobile app. That's exactly what we want. It follows the theme of your device, or you can toggle it. But
yeah,
dark theme.
Really, that's kind of what a lot of people wanted Skype for Windows 10 to be from the very start. People wanted that way back. Before the release of Threshold.
Yeah, I like so many things about this. Even just turning the phone sideways. Whoa, just bumped my mic there. That's no good. Turning the phone sideways.
Turn your phone sideways. Turn your mic sideways. What's the difference?
Yeah. Even just turning the phone sideways, at least depending on how I have the resolution set up, or my display on the phone, you have a list of your conversations on the left side, and you have a jump list. You can go right to the contacts, even the bots, your hamburger menu, and settings, and all that kind of thing is along the left side. And go search. There's screenshots of this all over the place, folks. It isn't a hidden knowledge here, but I'm just commenting on how cool it is. You have a list of all your conversations, and then on the right side, you have the actual conversation that you're involved with. And it really does, I love that it is adding more functionality by turning the device. Now, on a lower resolution device, you probably wouldn't have this functionality. I'm quite certain of that, actually. But you get, emojis are enabled in here, some pretty substantial ones, like not just the basic ones. You have... I don't know, that's like the last thing on my list. I don't really care about that. But it even has the dreaded hamburger menu in there. And yeah, I get it. Hamburger menu is just the way things are going. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I know what I can find. I know what to expect when I go in there. My problem is that I cannot reach the upper left-hand corner of the device with the primary digit I'm using on my phone, the thumb, my right thumb. I've had this argument forever. I don't know why... I don't know why this is evolution, like why we're ending up at this. You'd think this is a tried and failed experiment, and instead this is the UI that everyone is sticking with. Anyway, I think some people who know me know my take on that, and my I won't say disgust, but it's close to it.
I'd say you're more of a hot dog guy than a hamburger guy.
Yeah, there we go. We'll go with that. I really like the UIs of it. I like having, for example, search bar at the bottom instead of search bar at the top. That type of thing. That's where your thumbs are, right? And so I like having, swiping left to right, left and right, using gestures. That type of thing. That type of thing has a lot of value for me. Anyway, point being, hamburger menu's there, meaning it's not like the old a bright blue and white Skype app, of course. It follows the Windows 10 mobile UI design, and that is what people want. There are a few minor bugs in it, but I'm very, very happy with it. And of course, down the road, the big thing is that you will have this messaging everywhere enabled, and I cannot wait to see how well that works. As of right now, it's not working.
I'm really excited to try out the new Skype Universal app on a desktop when the anniversary update finally launches on, just for everybody. As I've mentioned a couple of times before, I'm just sticking on stable for everything right now. I have too much to lose and too little time, just in case anything does go south.
That's a very common and reasonable assessment, Andy. You're not alone, buddy. Then again, come on, live on the edge. Let's go, dude.
I'll just get a cheap laptop or something on eBay. Throw it on that. Who knows?
That wouldn't be unwise, I believe. I would try it. I guess I'm dominating the beginning of the conversation at the beginning here because next up is Panoramic mode for the Windows 10 mobile devices.
I'll show up more later on, I promise.
Yeah. Andy's why people show up to the podcast.
Clearly. They're all here for this wonderful voice. And yours too.
Panorama mode has been around for a while. Shooting in panorama, there's been plenty of different ways you could do this. I remember I don't know if it was my LG Quantum or maybe it was the Samsung Focus, but it was a Windows Phone 7 device, first round, and it had panorama mode in it. Kind of sucked. It wasn't very good, but it did work. Then there was something called PhotoSynth that was with Windows Phone 8.1. That app is still actually active, but you can sure tell it's an 8.1 app as dated as the icons are and such. Nokia had, that was a Microsoft app. Nokia had a panorama mode app. I think it considered it a lens that was built into phone. And it worked all right. It was not bad. It looked pretty good, but you could also tell it was panorama. Again, Andy, I am super impressed with this feature enabled in the app, in the camera app, and it's only for insiders at this point. And I think it's available for insiders on FastRank, but it will be pushed to everyone in the anniversary update in a couple weeks here. Well, for phone, it might be a little bit later. But, in a panorama, you can quite often tell when it's stitched, or you can just see a little bit of an overlap or a gap and what have you.
Yeah.
The very first one I did with this, and I was in a rush, I hadn't even tried it before. I got to figure this out. Zoomed right, from left to right, and it was perfect. I mean, I literally could not find a fault in this. Now, maybe there was one there, but the fact that I was looking for a fault and couldn't find it blew my mind. And it was the very first time I tried this. Maybe other people have had different experiences with this, but holy cow, I'm very happy with this.
I wonder if the old Lumia camera guys are working on that, because I remember hearing just endless praise about the Lumia camera app.
Well, yeah, Lumia camera has always been very good. I think it really, the Lumia 920 is what really kicked it off, and then the 1020 was kind of the pinnacle of it. And it didn't get much better from there, Microsoft's camera stuff. The 1050 or 950, of course, is a great device, 950 XL. And the 1520, of course, was very well received. Very, very happy with that camera, along with the 930 icon, yada yada. But I hope you're right, Andy, that these people are working on this, because it has kind of taken it to a next level. There has always been a little bit of, I don't want to call it jankiness, but just imperfections in the camera app and some of the camera features. And like I said, man, I could not find a flaw in that very first panorama shot that I took. I don't know if I need to say anything more about it. I'm pretty satisfied.
Well, you're not the only one who's satisfied, because businesses are satisfied with the Surface Hub, or rather, Microsoft is satisfied with the sales, because Microsoft Surface Hub was shown off back at a Windows 10 event, my bad there, in January 2015, I believe. And it was a device that was just hidden in plain sight. Microsoft had shown off this TV device in previous mock-ups and renders for stuff about the Windows ecosystem, and people were just like, okay, what's this? Is it like some kind of Xbox thing? Is it just a placeholder in case they decide to go and make a smart TV? Well, no, it was none of the guesses. It's an enterprise-focused device designed to basically reinvent the whiteboard, and it's doing well. Microsoft, so far, they've sold this to over 500 customers worldwide, which doesn't mean they've sold 500 Surface Hubs. Rather, they're, working with 500 different companies. But anyways, they say, demand for Surface Hubs is very strong and exceeded initial forecasts. To date, we've shipped to over 500 customers worldwide, and that number continues to grow. We are ramping up production to meet this strong demand via our partner reseller channel as soon as possible. Customers are encouraged to speak with their sales representative if interested in ordering Surface Hubs.
When I first read through this, I saw 500 customers, and even that was, I don't want to say impressive, but it was more than I was expecting, because these are substantial. I mean, these are investments. These things are nice. Either $9,000 or $22,000, depending on the size.
Yeah.
And of course, to some, that's, I don't want to say it's a drop in the bucket, but I mean, if you're the company who has a boardroom that needs an 84-inch display, you probably don't mind dropping the money on this. I think I can only imagine that people that are buying these are already deeply into the Microsoft ecosystem as far as their services and whatnot. But then again, it could be as simple as some executive is willing, instead of spending $5,000 on a sweet couch in his corner suite in his corner office, he'll just spend $8,000 on one of these and just keep it in his office that's the size of my home.
Really, I think and keep in mind, I don't know much about the enterprise, but brand new, high quality device from Microsoft that does not seem to have any of the flaws that their consumer-focused devices have. Very business-oriented, ties into business services. I'd say that's a pretty easy sell for a company that has the money for it.
Yeah, I think so. It's just that some people kind of cringe at the initial price, but
those people aren't the market.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just a write-off.
Yeah, and of course, speaking about cringing at prices for some people when it's aimed at the enterprise, that goes on to our next item, which is for Vernon.
We keep talking about this awesome Windows Phone device, the HP Elite X3. Everybody loves this, or at least they think they love it. Nobody likes the price. At least they're convinced that it's not a great buy. But then again, if you're getting this, you're getting it as an enterprise device. This is a tool that you use to do business. And so
it says Elite for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. HP Elite X3. So it is $700 without the dock, and then another tack $100 on there for the dock. And it's coming at the end of August. August 29th is when it will be available. Last I understood it was available. It will be available in the Microsoft Store, no doubt. But then also they said select retailers. I would imagine that would be Best Buy, probably. What else? Do they have a Staples? But I don't really shop at enterprise places.
Yeah, I'd assume it would be some sort of
shop, but
I'd expect it to just be some sort of special enterprise store that they keep hidden from the plebeians like us.
That's fair, yeah. So it is. It looks pretty sweet. I mean, we've talked about this before. Awesome specs. I mean, it's one of these phones that are going to, people will be in awe of it to some extent, or at least quite curious about it, I think. And that's always a good thing. Unfortunately, there will only be a few of these sold, I believe. And, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I guess I could review the specs on here just in case no one does, in case someone doesn't recall. Snapdragon 820, of course, a 6-inch display. 5.96-inch display. 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of onboard storage, of course, expandable memory. 16 and 8 megapixel cameras, 4150 milliamp hour battery, which is great. That's pretty drool worthy if you ask me. And then, of course, Windows Hello, which gives you at least two options, fingerprint scanner and an iris scanner. So that'll be really interesting. I can't wait to hear people talk about which one they truly prefer. So many people are satisfied with a fingerprint scanner on other operating systems. And, the hardware can't be that difficult, but I want to make sure, I'm going to withhold judgment until I see that Microsoft has proven they have the software side, or the firmware and software side of a fingerprint scanner figured out, before I just assume that that's better than the iris scanner. Personally, I like the iris scanner, but
when it comes to login methods, you remember that Windows 8 option where you could set a picture and then you would have to swipe certain parts of the image? Yeah. I have no idea if that's still available in Windows 10 Mobile. I don't think it is in desktop, but if that would probably be my preferred login method in this case. I've had too many people watch me enter my PIN to my phone.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is not available in Windows 10 Mobile. It would be kind of cool to see that show up, but then again, that's that's kind of like Android about 7 years ago, who had a pattern that you draw on it, and not to pick on that, but you could see, I've seen people with a pretty clear finger wipings on their device, and you can guess their pattern pretty easily. But it works for many people. I won't knock it, I guess, except I just did. So
as long as they're not drawing squares.
Yeah. So another Windows 10 mobile device. I'll be honest, it's not one that was on top of really on my radar. No, I've heard a little bit about it, but the Co-Ship Molly X1, and I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. We have a great write-up on here. Michael Allison has written up a good review on it on obviously MSPoweruser.com, and talks about this thing. The specs aren't fabulous. 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs onboard storage, 13 and 5 megapixel cameras. It is pretty slim though, just 7 millimeters. It's a 5.5-inch display. I think it's just regular HD. Yeah, 720 resolution, which that's fine. The price, to be honest, I don't see the price here. What happened? Well, I guess $180 or no, 180 pounds. I'm sorry. So this is not available in the U.S. as far as I know, or I don't know where else, I guess. But it is nice to see that this device is out there, can get into the hands of the people that don't necessarily have the money to buy an Elite X3 and get a new device that looks kind of cool. There were concerns as far as it not having the full range of display options, so that you wouldn't, I don't know if you're able to go with the 4 tile columns. Some of you may know what I mean by that, but like even on the 950, you can adjust the display to allow for four columns, where it comes with 3 columns by default. Andy, is this a device that appeals to you in any way?
Well, the burning question in my mind is, when's the Co-Ship Molly Elite X3? Listen, you just need to make it sound fancy, triple the price, and it'll be very appealing to anybody. It works with iPhones.
Unfortunately, yeah, that is often what it takes. So I don't really know what to. It's odd. As far as I understand, obviously no continuum on here, just regular micro USB, but that is standard for many Windows phones anyway. So in this price range, I think it's adequate.
Yeah. Something that really isn't too adequate, though, is that Skype will no longer support Windows Phone 8.x and older versions of Android, but that's not really much to worry about, really. The Windows Phone side here is the worrisome one because, Android, we can give it crap for being fragmented and all, but Windows Phone is united in the wrong way, if you get what I mean here, because there's 80% market share for Windows Phone is 8.x. And if I remember correctly, it's 50% of devices that can't be upgraded, but then there's that percentage, that can, but isn't. Now, what's the reason for that? And it's really that, and now, I'm not a Windows Phone user, might be in the future, but as far as I hear, upgrading to Windows 10 from Windows Phone 8 is not obvious. Like, Vernon, have there been any notifications that have told you, hey, Windows 10 is here? Like, did they just take all of those out of mobile and throw them at desktop?
Well, the notifications that I receive for upgrading a device from 8.1 to 10 are basically from MSPoweruser or from Twitter. Now, yeah, Microsoft obviously can put a blog post out there, and but that's only for the people that are in the loop. Many people that are on Windows Phone 8.1 on purpose, or I should say by default, people that are there by default don't care. They don't know. They don't necessarily care, and they are, the opposite of those. The people that want to upgrade to Windows 10 Mobile are probably already have, even if they're on the general release or a production release or on the slow ring. They can do this very easily. They can install the Windows Device Recovery tool, and they can upgrade and roll back as they need to, as they'd like. So basically, what happens is that there needs to be an app installed called the Update. Slipping my mind. Update Looker. It's obviously not Update Looker. What is it?
Upgrade Advisor. There
we go. You've got it. Upgrade Advisor. You're pretty good for not being a Windows Phone user. And we have Upgrade Advisor. Basically, just tells you, oh hey, yeah, your phone might be able to upgrade. And then what I do like about it is that it's going to check your phone, the actual status of it, make sure your phone is allowed the upgrade, but then also what your phone has on it at the time as far as available storage and things like that, and helps you sort through all that so that your upgrade experience is good. Now that's great, and I do like that. But my wife is an example of where she does not want to go to Windows 10 Mobile. She does not care. Now, unfortunately, she was using she uses the Lumia 920, and on 8.1, her Netflix app did not work. This was just last night, actually, I think, or the night before. And so, unfortunately, I had to get her my Lumia 1520, and she fired up a Netflix on there, bigger display, and that, wonderful. But she doesn't like Windows 10 Mobile, and to her, she's not going to want to update. And so, in a way, I think installing this app, the Upgrade Advisor, instead of just having it pushed to you like on iOS. Andy, I don't know if you have any iOS friends who, have wore out.
My mom uses iOS, and it always tells you about the updates right as they're available.
Mm-hmm. And to some people, that's wonderful. But I think for your general consumer, they hate that. And so I think that in a way, especially with all the over pushing of Windows 10 desktop proper to people, I think this, I'm not going to say this balances it out, but I think it's a unique irony.
I think it's pretty ironic that they push desktop upgrades with a mobile format, and they push mobile upgrades with a traditional desktop format. Not counting the $120 price tag, of course.
Yeah. It is surprising, but I like that tool that is there. I think it works well. I like how that works.
They really do need to, start telling mobile users, though, it doesn't have to be a constant notification. It's got to be like something that happens, just once. You can have a pop-up notification that says, this upgrade's available. If you want your apps to work, you put that, you put your phone on Windows 10. And with some of these apps, Microsoft doesn't even notify you, hey, you need to upgrade to Windows 10 for this to work. They just shut it off.
Yeah. That's really disappointing. That's unfortunate. Then again, the carriers can do this very easily. It would not take much for Microsoft to say to AT&T, obviously we're in the U.S., we'll use that as an example. I'll say a large portion of the Windows phones used in the U.S. are on AT&T. Simple, to get a text message, hey, your device can be upgraded. And some people were like, just dismiss it, or, oh, wow, I guess I like upgrades. And that link can take them right to Upgrade Advisor in the store. They can follow the steps, and they can upgrade when they'd like. Perfect. Or even, it could be a little dialogue in there in the Upgrade Advisor app, maybe there is. It just links to a web page, blog post, and just kind of explains it for the basic.
Yeah, I think it already explains it.
Okay.
I think the real issue here is that Upgrade Advisor isn't integrated into Windows Phone 8. I mean, I would have expected some kind of update that totally put it in there into the settings app or something of the sort.
Yeah, that's true. And that is the big, well, quote unquote flaw. It's certainly getting criticized, but then again, it could be very purposeful. We'll see.
I think it's more of an oversight than something purposeful, really.
Well, unfortunately, this does tie into basically what you tried to talk about, that the Skype app for Windows Phone 7, Windows Phone 8, 8.1, they will not be working. The Skype app will not be working after October of this year. This has me a little bit torqued, okay? I'm not very happy with this. Now, I was thinking about it, though. For all these Windows Phone 7 devices, I didn't think too hard on it, but I can't think of a single one that has a front-facing camera, actually. Maybe the 900 did. I'm not sure. But, so, for many people, Skype is less likely to be of value to them on a phone without a front-facing camera. That's not everything. That's just generalizing. But I think as people get better cameras, obviously, and better devices that can handle them better, they're more likely to be using Skype. Now, there's a lot of people using these old phones. Windows Phone 8.1 especially. I guess I'll look at the numbers more closely, but it's 8.1 is about 80% of it. That's ridiculous. That's just a huge number. Just only 11% on Windows 10 Mobile.
Windows Phone 80% of the market share.
Yeah, that's a big slice. That really is. And so maybe it is time. Maybe they will go through AT&T or whoever, send out this update, or I should say a notification to install this app and upgrade. Something simple like that. That would certainly help. But then again, many of these phones are not supported to upgrade to Windows 10 Mobile anyway. So
well, they can just put out a specific update to specific models. I mean, they've done that in the past.
Going from 8.1 to 10 is challenging. Okay, so like the Lumia 920, for example, is not getting it officially pushed to it. It's just a quad-core device. Easily one of the most popular devices, or at least most numerous, along with the 520. And of course, it would not be wise to put 10 Mobile on there just due to the OS demands. But a quad-core device, say for example, the Lumia 640 was released on Windows Phone 8.1, and some versions of that have been pushed to have had 10 Mobile pushed to them. That is quad-core, even though it's a slower processor, or less beefy, I should say. And I don't know. I'm still a little bit torn on this. It's really unfortunate that Microsoft appears to be shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to Windows Phone. But then again, if they're trying to get everyone on 10, maybe this is. I mean, I can't imagine this is the best way to do it.
If they were trying to get everyone on 10, they would have put everyone on 10 on mobile like they did on desktop.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are some Windows 7 laptop, devices that would not run 10, right? I mean, they exist. They're just very, very few. Whereas there's a large portion of the mobile devices that cannot upgrade. And I think perhaps, just giving them a little bit benefit of the doubt here, maybe they do want people to go out and buy a Windows 10 mobile device. I really doubt that's the case. So this is probably just an oversight, like you're saying.
Anyways, on to something that is getting rid of oversights, or maybe it is, I don't know. Either way, Groove Music is getting an update on Android and iOS, which, as we mentioned on last week's podcast, I actually subscribed to Groove Music during actually right before the show got started. I subscribed to Groove and gave it a try. And one of the things that really let me down was the Android and iOS app, or not and iOS. I'm an Android user, but I was really let down by their app. So I really did pick the best timing to go from, well, on my phone I didn't listen to music too much. I used Google Play Music for listening to local files, but that was it. Anyways, I went from just totally listening to local files to Groove to try out, your Groove feature. And it's a genuinely good service. Well, I was less than satisfied with the Android app like the majority of people were, and this update has fixed that almost entirely. I still have some gripes, but if it continues to develop at this speed, which it went from a pretty terrible app to something that's pretty good. About the state of the Groove app a month or two ago on PC. Really solid, good user interface, looks good, sounds good, not really many issues, but those issues that I do have, I expect them to get ironed out within a couple of weeks.
I like that is very similar, if not identical in some ways, to the Windows Phone app, and I like that. Just that continuity across the platforms, I think, is wise. I believe that. That's wise.
Microsoft has always had a consistent experience on Android and Windows devices. Like even back in the Windows 8 era, if you look at some of the apps they published to the Play Store at that time, you'll see Windows 8 user interface, and it's like it's actually really good. I've like the MSN Weather app and news apps are this interesting hybrid of both Windows Phone 8 and Android. I think maybe 4.4 point whatever design, because you've got both an old Android hamburger menu and then you have the, what was it called, the pivot, where you can swipe from left and right to change segments.
Yeah, that's what I really miss about Windows Phone 8.1.
It's got the best of both worlds on Android. It doesn't look the prettiest, but it is very nice to use.
Well, speaking of Groove Music, the Groove Music app will eventually play background music, or the new one can play background music on the Xbox One. Now, as I understand, this is not quite there. Maybe it's there for insiders or something, or I should say the Xbox.
They've been teasing a lot of Universal apps lately. We've seen teases for the Weather app, et cetera, which having weather on the big screen will be cool. Who needs the Weather channel when you can just have a radar or forecasts updating every couple of minutes there. But
nice.
Yeah, Universal apps are coming to the Xbox One, and so they're going to continue that continuity across platforms like you mentioned.
So, Andy, I can understand that if my Xbox is hooked up to my entertainment system, right? I got decent music set up, surround sound or whatever, and I just play music through there. Perfect. No problem. Makes sense. Got it. But for someone who's gaming, I guess I don't quite understand if the Xbox One is more for those hardcore gamers, some people at least. Are you going to be listening to this when you're playing a game? I mean, I don't game to really have a good enough opinion on this.
Not really. I mean, like, my experience with background music in games is that, like, if it has an option to customize the soundtrack, like, the original Xbox does have that, and it's something that I actually use now. I mean, I've bought CDs just to get my background music on that old thing, but if it's got an option where it's built into the game, sure. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, I would.
I like because I like having the experience that the developers intended. If it's something like, say, Forza, or maybe it's Forza. I'm still not sure either one.
You're asking the wrong guy, man.
Yeah, but regardless, if it's something that maybe a racing game where there is no background music, or the background music is just generic, blends in, you can turn that off, then sure. But anything else in this case is the majority of Xbox One games, yeah, there's going to be background music already there that's made to fit the mood, and I don't see much of a reason to switch.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Cool. Well,
yeah.
What else we have coming up with Xbox?
Well, pretty soon, the Xbox One will be the only place on a console where you can play the entire Dead Rising franchise, which Dead Rising and Xbox have had a seriously close relationship. The first Dead Rising game, which was released way back in 2006, that's 10 years ago, is coming to Windows 10, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, but if you want the entire franchise and want to play that from start to finish, you either have to be a Windows 10 user, or just a Windows user in a couple of months, or an Xbox user, because Dead Rising 4 is exclusive to the Xbox One. Dead Rising 3 is a console exclusive to the Xbox One. It's also on every Windows version out there, but it's, console exclusive. Then Dead Rising 4, I think it's also exclusive to the Windows Store. If you want to play the whole, you want to play the whole franchise start to finish, you have two options: Windows 10 or Xbox One. And it's nice to see Microsoft secure a big strategy like this, where you can see, like, yeah, this strategy works out. If this is something they could advertise, and that isn't all the Xbox stuff, just a shameless plug here for a post that might go up before this podcast is published. I'm not too sure on the timing. I'm often up till 3 a.m. editing, so I might wake up at 11, which will be a bit too late, but I spent a good chunk of today working on a huge look back at the original Xbox, which will be up on MSPoweruser July 22nd, same day as this podcast, and it covers and it doesn't go too in-depth in some areas, but it covers a lot of stuff that you might not even know happened, like when Microsoft acquired game developer Rare. And it's a really interesting look back at something that was genuinely revolutionary.
I am not an Xbox fan. I'm not against it, but I feel that this, just the way you kind of talk about it, and you mentioned it earlier before the show, this is something that really is meaningful to me, to understand the backstory and to hear all that, kind of the history of it. As a history enthusiast myself, I like that type of thing. So, and it is definitely different than your typical posts that you see on many news sites, which are often very valuable, but
I want to
quick
move into writing some more features like this. It's not only fun to do, but it's fun to do some research on. Like, I'm not sure if I'd say research in this instance, as I've just been kind of being a bit of an enthusiast over the past couple of months, collecting stuff related to this, reading up on stuff. I've got a pile of old DVDs from magazines about the Xbox. Nice. It's just this nifty time capsule. One thing that isn't a time capsule, though, which, you might want to do some of this.
Yeah,
Microsoft's
money.
announcing their earnings.
Q4. Of course, Microsoft, their fiscal year is 6 months off from the calendar year. That's not uncommon, but it throws a few people off if they're not used to that.
Definitely threw me off.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't. Yeah, that's something that, it throws people off. So the end of their year, end of 2016 quarter earnings, their fiscal year, the OEM revenue increases. Okay, so that's their own OEMs, or that's themselves. I'm sorry. Okay, so for Windows, Microsoft noted that Windows OEM revenue grew 25% and 2% for non-Pro and Pro SKUs of Windows. So that's basically saying not many people are getting the Pro SKUs, but many are getting the non-Pro, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm a Pro user actually, and it's nice over here. More people should join us.
Well, which of those features? Now, it wouldn't be a bad question to ask. Which of those features are things that you use that would not? I should say, which of those Pro features?
Admittedly, the majority of Pro features were Windows 7 centric. This PC was one that was originally a 7 Pro machine, and one interesting thing is that how Windows 10 introduced being able to change the height of the start menu. That was originally exclusive to Pro Windows 7 users, maybe Vista too, but I haven't had much experience with Vista. I doubt many people here have, but that was a big thing that I used a lot. You could change how many items were displayed, but almost the same as it is now. It was a real nifty feature then. Now it's a case of, I'm pretty sure there's just a bunch of subtle things in Windows 10 where I have access to them. I don't know if anyone else does. I don't use BitLocker, but I'm certain that's a reason for a lot of people to get it. Might be the entire... Then, let's see. Pretty sure you also get access to...
Well, you can delay updates. You can push them back if you need to.
Oh yeah, I doubt that anyone listening to us wants to delay updates though. Well, various virtual machine stuff. I don't even remember the specific name. It's getting a bit late at night. But anyways, yeah, Pro is pretty cool.
Well, I apologize for putting you on the spot. Then
No, don't worry.
Yeah. So Surface, everybody loves Surface, and most people do. And I heard recently, I mean, there's many times the Surface Pro, Surface Pro 4 devices released sold than the Surface Book. But the Surface Book is definitely that aspirational device. I think it's tremendous for a first-gen device, and I certainly wouldn't mind using one. I just don't have a need for it, certainly at that price. But the revenue continues to climb. Surface revenue up 9%. Remember, back in the day, Windows, the original Microsoft Surface RT was a huge flop. It failed in many regards, many ways. I think probably the biggest one was that they made too many of them, and then they really couldn't sell them, and they had to, I don't know if they literally recycled them or what, but it was worth just writing it off and moving forward. And that's unfortunate. Despite that, several $1 million they wrote off or whatever, it was a big deal. They're still profitable. They're doing well. Revenue continues to climb. And the Surface Pro 4 has been out for a while now, and people just continue going with this thing. Even the Surface 3 has been sunsetted, or not officially, but it hasn't happened yet. But they're saying, okay, at the end of the year, we're going to stop making these things. Basically saying, hold off unless you're just buying it for your kid or something. Basically telling enthusiasts that either, I guess, buy a Surface Pro 4 or wait for that next big thing. And I love what they're doing with Surface Pro, with the Surface line, and they're making money.
Yeah. And then the next earnings, this is an area that, I'm fairly good with. Xbox revenue has decreased 33%, but Xbox Live engagement is up. The reason for this one's pretty simple. I mean, at E3, they just announced 2 new consoles, with one of them being one that was talked about for months. Maybe not months, maybe a month, but regardless, there was enough time and enough general, hey, yeah, this is a time when new hardware is going to come in. The people who have a first-gen Xbox One, anyone who wants a first-gen Xbox One has a first-generation Xbox One. New hardware is coming in soon. The Xbox One S releases on August 2nd, which is pretty cool. And, the people and the hardcore market is going to go for Project Scorpio sometime next year. So it's not a surprise that people aren't buying as much Xbox hardware as they used to, because they already have it. And then Xbox Live engagement being up, I'm not entirely certain about what might cause that. I might put the blame on something like the constant update stream to Halo 5 or whatever, but that's an interesting statistic there.
That is interesting, and I'm not even qualified to comment on that. Something I am relatively familiar with is Office. I use Microsoft Office all the time, especially Office 365. I love that. I use it for my family. Of course, you get 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage per user. If you get the Office Family, or what is it? Office. Boy, I don't remember. I think it's Family. And it's a great product. I use it. It's really nice to have all that. Outlook. I live in Outlook. Same thing at work. I live in Outlook, but it's an older version. Yeah. And they're making money on this. They continue to make money on it. 5% growth in Office. And pretty much all of that, as we can expect, is going to be Office 365. That is growing tremendously. I love that. And buying the traditional Office, like if you bought, go purchase the USB drive from Best Buy for Office 2016. That is becoming less and less of a thing, and getting the Office 365 subscription is the way it's going. Makes sense for me. I'm happy with it. I use it, and especially the family version where you can share it with obviously 4 other people aside from yourself.
Yeah. Office is really good. It's Microsoft's best product suite, has been for years. It's incredibly detailed, and it doesn't really matter who you are. It's full of products that are easy to use, even easy to master in some cases. Very versatile line of products that just applies to just about everything. Schools, businesses, even just individuals. I will write up something in Word just for myself at times.
Mm-hmm. And I would say the best thing about Office is OneNote. There's plenty of very, very powerful things.
Well, we're using it now.
But we're using OneNote. It's free. Okay, you can get OneNote on anything. It's free, and that's, I really wonder about their business model on that. If that is people's favorite Office app, they're giving it away. Well, it's pulling them in. It's getting people almost a freemium model. Oh, if I like Outlook, I'm going to, on all my devices, I'm going to use it in other things. And I actually had a friend of mine who uses an Android device. And we went to a training last week together. And I brought an extra phone for him to just check out because I know that he had asked about it one time. And so he played around with it, and I showed him some stuff in OneNote, all the different folders and notebooks and pages I had in there, how you could password lock some of the things. And many people know this about OneNote. About OneNote, it isn't groundbreaking. It's not new news, but he was really intrigued by that, and because of that, he installed OneNote on his Android. I don't know which tablet it was, and he began to use that in conjunction with the web version of it. And there's one more user that may start using OneDrive, may start using Bing, maybe Cortana, whatever.
I hope you didn't spoil the show notes for him when you showed him OneNote.
Well, no, I didn't use those. I used some other ones, but I showed him a lot of different things. Some of the different things you could do with it. One thing that I used with it was just writing, literally just drawing on the tablet I have in OneNote for the class, the training that we took. And not only did I write freehand or cursive or even just shorthand with the stylus, but I also had the small Microsoft keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard with, and if I needed to type out more than that, I just, just type it out. And of course, I actually left that tablet in someone's vehicle on the way back, and he was gone for some time. Now, if that was a notebook, I couldn't have done anything with that. If that was paper and pen, I would have been proverbially SOL. But since it was OneNote, it was on all my phones. It was on the desktop, both my home PC, my work PC, obviously, on the web, anywhere I wanted to pull it up. And I didn't need that device to have that. Now, cloud storage is nothing new, but I love that was a real-life situation, real-life barrier I came across, and OneNote, Microsoft OneDrive, solved it for me. I like that.
Success stories are always fun.
Yeah. Speaking of success, search. Microsoft continues to do well with search revenue. I have actually noticed a few more ways that Microsoft is making money in search. Okay, I mean, I've just noticed it's been more obvious to me lately. Not in a bad way. I never felt like, oh, this is ruining my search experience because of a way that someone's making money. But that's okay, and they're making money doing it. Search revenue continues to climb, and I have no doubt it's because of Windows 10. I mean, I'm sure that's what Microsoft even said, that Windows 10 with Cortana built in, or even just the Cortana just not branded as Cortana, search at the bottom, search everywhere, pull up what you need. I mean, it's search, it's Bing on the back end, and I love that, and I'm very, very satisfied with it. I'm hearing less and less from Microsoft enthusiasts that Google is better than Bing. I'm not hearing that argument much anymore. Yeah, there's those hardcore people who feel that that's better, and of course the Google people will certainly say that Google's better. But I've made the argument to some friends of mine, or actually they're my brothers actually. We were having the discussion Bing versus Google. We won't go into it today, but all the reasons that I would choose Bing over Google, even if it wasn't search results, even if it had nothing to do, if search results on one search engine were better or worse than the other, all the other ancillary, the external stuff that would be a reason for me to use Bing. We'll get into that another time, I believe, but luckily they're doing the good things with search and they're making more money.
Yeah. And I think that's almost about it for today, but are there any non-newsy things we want to talk about, or anything of the sort?
In a way it's still news actually, because we talked about it a few weeks ago. The MSPoweruser app is available. Okay, it's out, it's public, you can get it. You certainly should have downloaded it, folks, on big Windows, as I call it, and of course Windows 10 Mobile. And it's a great app still. So continue to use. I mean, I'm using it more and more.
And it's being updated with feedback. One thing that's happened since we last talked about it and talked about its release is that they've added an accented black theme. And I think just a normal black theme, too, where it's supposed to dark gray, you have black. If you're like Batman from the Lego movie, and the darker it is, the better it is. Well, here you go.
Cool. So make sure you install that, check it out. And it's very valuable for me adding news items in here, obviously, and just keeping up with it on a day-to-day basis. Wow, words, they're difficult. Well, that's about it, everyone. Thanks for listening to the MSPoweruser Podcast. You can follow the site on Twitter, MSPoweruser. By doing so, you'll find out when each new episode is available for your wonderful, tasty consumption. Also, be sure to subscribe to the show with your favorite podcast app. I'm going to list one again. Grover Pro has always been a good one. Recently, people enjoy Grover Pro. I finally made the full transition from Podcast Lounge to Grover Pro. And believe me, this took work. Okay, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm very satisfied with it. Grover Pro, top marks for that app. So make sure you're using that. Even if you're not on a Windows Phone device, there's plenty of other podcast apps you can use. If you subscribe to the show, when you do that, the latest episode will automatically download to your mobile device if you set it up that way. And that way, you'll be able to hear us as soon as the show is available. With Grover Pro, you'll actually get a pop-up. You can set the notifications. Hey, new episode. What episode are we on? 5? Episode 5 of MSPoweruser Podcast is available. Boom, bingo, bam, whatever you want to call it, it's available for you. So do so, folks. It's been a great week. Andy, anything to finish off with, bud?
Well, I can't really add too much towards podcast app recommendations, but what I can say is have a great week, everybody.
Take care.